Step into a realm where silence speaks volumes and shadows dance with the echoes of centuries past. Germany, a land steeped in history and folklore, holds within its tranquil grounds a collection of cemeteries where the veil between worlds is said to be whisper-thin. These are not just final resting places, they are stages for spectral encounters, where the weight of history and the mysteries of the afterlife intertwine. Join us as we journey through the most haunted cemeteries in Germany, unearthing tales of lingering spirits, unexplained phenomena, and the captivating stories that refuse to stay buried. Prepare to be enthralled by narratives that blur the line between the living and the departed, in locations where every stone has a story, and some stories never truly end. 10. Babenhausen Barracks, Hesse. In the quiet town of Babenhausen, nestled in the heart of Hesse, Germany, lies a place with a dark, unsettling past, the Babenhausen Barracks. Once a thriving military base, this now abandoned site is infamous for its eerie atmosphere and a series of terrifying encounters that have left many wondering, what truly haunts these cold, empty halls? Babenhausen Barracks was built in the 1930s as part of Germany's military expansion. The barracks served as a training ground during both World War II and the Cold War, housing soldiers and officers. With its sprawling complex of buildings, tight corridors, and dormitories, it was a place of strict discipline, military drills, and tension. But amid the daily grind of military life, something sinister began to fester. The barracks became infamous for the harsh conditions and grueling routines that soldiers had to endure. Many of the men who served there reported a sense of foreboding that would settle in the air, particularly at night. Some even claimed to hear voices in the shadows, whispering their names when no one else was around. After the military left, the barracks stood vacant for decades, a cold, abandoned monument to a bygone era. It wasn't long before ghost stories began to circulate about the site. Locals reported strange sightings, flickering lights, and sounds of footsteps echoing through empty halls. But the real horror began when paranormal investigators started visiting. One of the most disturbing reports comes from a group of investigators who spent a night within the barracks. They claimed to have seen ghostly figures of soldiers in old uniforms, moving silently through the darkened rooms. One investigator described feeling a sudden drop in temperature, and then, a cold, invisible hand resting on his shoulder. When he turned around, no one was there. Another haunting encounter happened in the building known as Block 4. This area, now mostly decayed and crumbling, was once used as a mess hall and living quarters for soldiers. A former guard who worked there in the 1980s recalls hearing metal doors slamming shut late at night, though the area was completely empty. When he investigated, he found nothing, just the eerie silence of the abandoned structure. Perhaps the most chilling incident took place in the basement. This area was used for storage and occasionally as a makeshift prison during wartime. Several people have reported hearing chains rattling, followed by loud screams of agony coming from the depths of the cellar. Those who dared enter the basement claimed to feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as though they were being watched, or worse, followed. But the most common experience reported by visitors is the sensation of being not alone. Many describe an unseen presence in the barracks, a feeling of being watched from the corners of their vision. And sometimes, even the bravest souls can't shake the eerie feeling that something is moving in the shadows, just out of reach. Despite its terrifying reputation, Babenhausen Barracks remains a popular destination for those fascinated by the paranormal. The site has become a mecca for ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and curious souls wanting to experience its haunted legacy firsthand. But the question remains, who still lingers in Babenhausen Barracks? Is it the spirits of soldiers long gone, still haunted by the horrors of war? Or is it something darker, something that waits in the silence, biding its time until the next unsuspecting visitor enters its domain? One thing's for sure, the barracks may be abandoned, but its ghosts are very much alive. 9. Hohenzollern Castle, Baden-Württemberg. Perched high on Mount Hohenzollern in Baden-Württemberg, Germany, sits one of the most breathtaking castles in all of Europe, Hohenzollern Castle. Its towers pierce the clouds, and its stone walls whisper tales of centuries past. But beyond the majestic beauty, lies a darker presence. One that has unsettled guests, guards, and royals alike. Before the hauntings, the site had a long and royal history. The original castle, built in the 11th century, was a symbol of the mighty House of Hohenzollern, one of Germany's most powerful noble families. Though it fell into ruin and was rebuilt twice, most notably in the 19th century, the castle remained a proud monument to Germany's imperial past. Kings, emperors, and generals once walked these halls. But power often comes with a price, and Hohenzollern Castle has seen its share of death, betrayal, and loss. After the haunting stories began, whispers spread through the region. Some believe the spirits of former royals never left. Others say the mountain itself holds a restless energy, as if the land remembers the blood spilled over centuries of war and ambition. One of the most famous spirits said to haunt the castle is Countess Clara von Hohenzollern. Legend has it she fell in love with a soldier far below her status, a forbidden affair that ended in tragedy. When their love was discovered, the soldier was executed, and Clara took her own life by leaping from one of the castle towers. Now, her ghost is said to wander the halls in a flowing white gown, her face pale, her eyes full of sorrow. Many have reported hearing her sobs echoing through the corridors late at night. Another chilling tale comes from a former caretaker, who claimed to see a shadowy figure seated on the royal throne, only to vanish the moment he stepped closer. The throne room, once filled with pride and ceremony, is now said to be unnaturally cold at times, even in summer. Visitors and staff alike have described unexplainable phenomena, flickering lights, sudden drops in temperature, footsteps echoing in empty halls, and doors that slam on their own. Some tourists have fainted or left in panic after experiencing an overwhelming sense of dread in the castle's chapel. In one bizarre incident, a team of paranormal investigators reported capturing an EVP, an electronic voice phenomenon, in the castle's dungeons. The voice, when analyzed, sounded like a woman whispering in Old German, kommt zurück, which translates to, "He is coming back." Even the castle's artwork plays a role in the lore. A large portrait of a stern-looking Prussian king is said to occasionally shift expression, from stoic to sneering, particularly when visitors disrespect the space or mock the supernatural stories. Despite its hauntings, Hohenzollern Castle remains a popular tourist destination, but not everyone goes for the view. Some seek the mystery, the thrill, the chance to feel the cold breath of the past press against their neck. So if you ever visit this royal fortress among the clouds, remember, not all kings are buried. Some still rule in silence, from the shadows. Because at Hohenzollern Castle, the past is never truly dead. 8. The Black Forest, Baden-Württemberg. Tucked away in the southwest corner of Germany, in the state of Baden-Württemberg, lies a vast and ancient woodland cloaked in mist and mystery, the legendary Black Forest, or Schwarzwald. With towering pine trees, deep valleys, and hidden trails, the forest is both enchanting and unnerving. The Black Forest was a place of wonder and superstition. For centuries, it inspired fairy tales and folklore, from the Brothers Grimm to countless regional legends. The dense canopy often blocks sunlight, creating an eerie twilight even at midday. Villages near the forest spoke of woodland spirits, witches, and shapeshifters long before the modern world took notice. Its isolation made it the perfect hiding place, not just for people, but for secrets. And over time, those secrets began to seep into stories, and those stories into fear. After the forest became known as haunted, strange reports became more frequent. Travelers and hikers often spoke of getting hopelessly lost, even with maps or GPS. Some claimed trails changed direction behind them, while others reported hearing footsteps, whispers, or guttural growls in the underbrush, with no animals in sight. One of the most famous tales involves the Dark Man of the Forest, a shadowy figure said to stalk the woods. Witnesses describe him as tall, faceless, dressed in black, and always watching from just beyond the trees. Those who followed him never found a trace, only a deep sense of dread and time unaccounted for. Locals also warn of ghostly children who appear near old logging paths. Pale, silent, and barefoot, they're said to vanish the moment you look away. Some believe they're the souls of those who disappeared in the woods centuries ago, lost to starvation, wolves, or something far worse. There's even a ruined cabin hidden deep within the forest, said to be the last standing remnant of a black magic cult from the 1700s. Legend says that rituals were held there, and that the forest itself became cursed. Modern explorers have found strange symbols, animal bones, and even human-like footprints around the ruins, though no official records confirm it ever existed. Paranormal investigators who have visited the Black Forest report compasses malfunctioning, batteries draining instantly, and unexplainable voices captured on audio devices. One team even claimed their cameras recorded a woman in white walking across a clearing, only to discover no one had been there at all. Despite its chilling reputation, the Black Forest remains a beloved destination, with its picturesque villages, cuckoo clocks, and folklore festivals. But beneath its charming surface, something ancient and watchful still lurks. The deeper you go, the quieter it becomes. And if you're not careful, you may find more than just beautiful views. You may find yourself being watched. Because in the Black Forest, fairy tales aren't just fiction. 7. Fauninsel, Peacock Island, Berlin. Nestled in the Havel River, just southwest of Berlin, lies a place of serene beauty and eerie silence, Fauninsel, or Peacock Island. At first glance, it's a romantic paradise, home to exotic birds, lush greenery, and a whimsical white castle. But as you step off the boat and onto the island's quiet paths, you may feel something else entirely. Something watching. Something waiting. Before the haunting, Fauninsel was a playground for Prussian royalty. In the late 18th century, King Frederick William II of Prussia transformed the island into a secret retreat for himself and his mistress, Wilhelmine Anke. A delicate white palace was built for their affair, hidden among the trees. Later, under King Frederick William III, the island was turned into a natural wonderland, with free-roaming peacocks, exotic plants, and even a small menagerie of animals. But beauty often hides a darker past. Rumors began to spread about strange happenings on the island even during its royal days. Servants whispered of shadowy figures moving through the trees at night, of candles lighting themselves in the abandoned chambers, and of eerie laughter echoing through the forest. After the haunting truly began, visitors started reporting unsettling experiences. One of the most famous legends tells of Wilhelmine's ghost, said to wander the island in a flowing white dress. Locals believe she's trapped between worlds, mourning the loss of her secret love after Frederick William II's sudden death. Some have claimed to see her staring out from the palace windows, long after the building was sealed shut. There are also reports of disembodied whispers that seem to come from the trees themselves. Many who walk alone through the wooded paths have heard their names softly spoken, even when no one else was near. Some visitors say the island plays tricks on the mind. Time feels distorted. Paths seem to shift. And strange patches of cold air hover, even in summer heat. Photographs taken on the island have shown faint outlines of figures, standing where no one should be. One of the more disturbing tales comes from a group of students who camped nearby in the 1990s. They claim to have heard peacocks screaming wildly in the middle of the night, followed by the sound of footsteps splashing through the shallows, as if someone, or something, had walked out of the river and onto the island. But when they checked in the morning, there were no footprints. Only feathers. And silence. Despite its supernatural reputation, Fauninsel is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a popular tourist attraction. But the legends persist. The wind through the trees sounds like voices. The rustle of feathers feels like warning. And the stillness of the palace hides stories that will never be written. So if you ever find yourself on this tranquil yet haunted island, listen closely. Because on Fauninsel, not all the spirits are as graceful as the peacocks. 6. Wittenberg Castle Church, Saxony-Anhalt. Deep in the town of Wittenberg, in Saxony-Anhalt, stands one of the most historically significant churches in the world, the Wittenberg Castle Church, also known as the Schlosskirche. It is best known as the place where Martin Luther is said to have nailed his 95 Theses to the door in 1517, sparking the Protestant Reformation. But beyond its religious importance, the castle church holds darker secrets, ones whispered through the centuries. Constructed in the late 15th century, the castle church was a royal chapel and final resting place for many of Wittenberg's elite. It became a powerful symbol of both spiritual authority and political control. But with power often comes conflict and death. Before the hauntings, the church witnessed the fiery debates of the Reformation. Religious tensions, persecution, and wars echoed through its halls. Over time, many important figures were buried within its walls, including Martin Luther himself and his ally Philip Melanchthon. Their tombs rest beneath the stone floor near the altar. Yet, with such sacred and controversial figures lying within, perhaps it was only a matter of time before the spiritual energy became unstable. After the hauntings began, strange stories started to emerge. Visitors reported unexplained organ music playing at night when no one was at the instrument. Others heard chanting in Latin, even though services are now conducted in German, and even when the church was empty. One of the most unsettling tales involves a black-robed figure seen drifting down the aisles. Descriptions vary, but many say he resembles Luther himself, head bowed, hands clasped behind his back, pacing the church as if tormented by doubt, or by the turmoil that followed the Reformation. Those who have seen him claim he vanishes near his tomb, just as a sudden cold rush fills the air. Another local legend speaks of a screaming spirit, believed to be the ghost of a monk who opposed the Reformation and was executed for heresy. His wails are said to echo from the bell tower during storms, sometimes accompanied by the sharp scent of burning parchment, as if the 95 Theses were being set aflame. Tour guides have also reported malfunctioning audio equipment, especially when near the altar or crypts. Recordings sometimes pick up faint whispers, unintelligible, but undeniably human. One chilling incident occurred during a restoration in the 20th century. A worker repairing the roof claimed to have seen shadowy figures circling the pulpit below, though the church was locked and no one else was inside. He refused to ever step foot in the building again. Despite these tales, Wittenberg Castle Church remains a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a place of immense historical pride and pilgrimage. But for those who've experienced its supernatural side, it's more than just a monument, it's a restless spiritual battleground. A place where the dead don't sleep easily, and the echoes of revolution are still heard in the silence. So, the next time you walk past the doors of Wittenberg Castle Church, pause for a moment. You may just feel the weight of history pressing on your shoulders, or the chill of something unseen standing just behind you. Because in this hallowed ground, faith and fear walk side by side. 5. Osnabrück's Dom St. Peter, Cathedral of St. Peter, Lower Saxony. In the heart of Osnabrück, Lower Saxony, stands an ancient and awe-inspiring structure, the Dom St. Peter, or the Cathedral of St. Peter. At first glance, it's a majestic symbol of faith, history, and Gothic beauty. But beneath its sacred stones, lies something far more chilling. The cathedral's roots stretch back over 1,200 years, with the original construction believed to have started in the 8th century. Over the centuries, it survived fires, wars, and repeated reconstructions, finally standing tall in its current Romanesque Gothic form. As the spiritual center of the diocese, it witnessed everything from coronations to plagues, from worship to warfare. But with such a long and turbulent past, it's no surprise that not all souls inside Dom St. Peter are at peace. Before the hauntings, the cathedral was a center of spiritual and political power. It housed countless relics, served as a royal meeting place, and endured the chaos of the 30 Years' War. Many bishops, priests, and nobles were buried within its crypts, their tombs sealed beneath slabs of worn stone. Some say, not all of them stayed buried. In more recent years, visitors and staff began to report unsettling occurrences. Some have heard the echo of unseen footsteps, slowly pacing behind them when no one else was near. Others claim to see a shadowy monk gliding silently through the aisles, vanishing just as quickly as he appears. The legend says he was a priest executed for heresy, wrongfully accused and silenced within the cathedral's walls. His spirit now seeks justice, or vengeance. There are also stories of the crying child, a ghostly voice that whispers or sobs from the side chapels during quiet hours. The origin of the child remains a mystery, but some believe it's tied to a forgotten grave or ancient baptism gone tragically wrong. Even recordings made inside the cathedral have captured eerie audio anomalies, faint cries, strange murmurs, and sudden bursts of static where silence should be. But perhaps the most disturbing encounters take place beneath the cathedral, in the underground crypt. Few are allowed inside, but those who have entered speak of an overwhelming heaviness, like the air itself grows thick and angry. Cameras malfunction. Cold spots are felt even in the summer heat. And some claim to have seen faces in the old stone walls, as if something, or someone, is watching. Even local clergy have acknowledged the presence of strange phenomena. While the church never officially confirms hauntings, some priests have quietly requested cleansing rituals or blessings for certain areas of the cathedral, especially after unsettling events during late-night services or quiet meditation. Despite its reputation, Dom St. Peter remains a place of reverence, and perhaps, a powerful reminder that history leaves echoes. Some are peaceful, but others refuse to be forgotten. So if you ever walk through the cathedral's massive doors, and feel a chill crawl up your spine, listen carefully. You might hear a whisper from the shadows, or feel a gaze from centuries past. Because within the sacred silence of Osnabrück's Dom St. Peter, the spirits still sing. 4. Frankenstein Castle, Hesse. High on a hill in the Odenwald Mountains of Hesse, Germany, looms a ruined fortress with a name that chills the spine, Frankenstein Castle. While its connection to Mary Shelley's famous monster remains debated, its dark legends and eerie presence are very real. This is no tale of fiction, this is Frankenstein Castle. Built around the 13th century, Frankenstein Castle was once a proud stronghold belonging to the Lords of Frankenstein, a noble family who ruled over the land for centuries. It served as both a military fortress and a place of local governance. But as time passed and political tides shifted, the castle fell into decline, and into the hands of history's darker whispers. One of the most mysterious figures linked to Frankenstein Castle was Johann Conrad Dippel, born there in 1673. Dippel was an alchemist, theologian, and scientist, obsessed with unlocking the secrets of life and death. Rumors claim he conducted strange experiments in the castle's towers, using animal parts, chemicals, and possibly even human remains. Some say he tried to transfer souls or create an elixir of immortality. These tales, though never fully proven, helped fuel the myth that Dippel was the real-life inspiration for Dr. Frankenstein in Mary Shelley's novel, which was written over a century later. But even without Shelley's story, Frankenstein Castle has its own haunting reputation. Over the years, locals and visitors have reported a range of paranormal encounters. People speak of cold spots, phantom footsteps, and sudden nausea while walking through the ruins, especially near the old chapel and tower. Some claim to see the shadow of a cloaked man, believed to be Dippel himself, still lingering, watching, perhaps searching for the secrets he never unlocked in life. Others describe a woman in white, the ghost of a murdered noblewoman who supposedly haunts the castle grounds, wailing under the full moon. Visitors have reported hearing her cries echoing through the forest that surrounds the ruins. And then, there's the legend of the dragon. According to an old local myth, a terrible dragon once lived beneath the castle, terrorizing the nearby village. A brave knight from the Frankenstein family is said to have slain the beast, though at the cost of his own life. Some believe the dragon's spirit still haunts the area, and strange animal-like growls have been reported by hikers near the hilltop. Each year, during Halloween, the castle becomes the centerpiece of one of Germany's largest horror festivals. Actors dressed as monsters stalk the ruins, and haunted tours are given, but many say the real spirits don't need costumes. Even seasoned performers have claimed to feel unseen hands brushing their necks or have fled certain areas in terror, unable to explain the overwhelming fear that grips them. Despite, or because of, its decayed beauty, Frankenstein Castle draws thousands every year. Some come for the legends. Others come for the thrill. But a few leave with stories they can't explain, and memories they wish they could forget. So, if you ever find yourself in Hesse, and the fog rolls in over the hills, casting a pale light over the old stone ruins. Be careful. Because in Frankenstein Castle, the line between myth and nightmare is thinner than you think. 3. Belitz Heilstätten Hospital, Brandenburg. Deep in the woods of Brandenburg, Germany, lies a place where time has stopped, a place where decay, history, and horror have fused into something truly terrifying. This is Belitz Heilstätten, once a shining symbol of medical progress, now, one of the most haunted and spine-chilling locations in Europe. The hospital complex was built in the late 1800s, originally as a sanatorium for tuberculosis patients. Surrounded by forest and fresh air, it was meant to be a peaceful retreat for healing. With over 60 buildings, including treatment wards, surgery rooms, and residences for doctors and nurses, Belitz was one of the most advanced medical facilities of its time. But its story soon turned dark. During World War I, Belitz became a military hospital. Even Adolf Hitler was treated here after being wounded in 1916. By World War II, it was once again converted into a military facility, this time serving the Nazi regime. After the war, it fell into Soviet control and remained a Russian military hospital until the 1990s. For over a century, this place witnessed death, suffering, and unspeakable acts, both medical and military. And when it was finally abandoned, it didn't stay silent for long. After being left to rot, Belitz Heilstätten became a magnet for ghost hunters, urban explorers, and thrill seekers. What they found inside would haunt them forever. Reports began pouring in of ghostly apparitions wandering the long, crumbling corridors, pale figures in hospital gowns, faces twisted in pain. Some say they've heard the echoing screams of patients, as if time has trapped their agony in the walls. One of the most infamous sightings is the bleeding nurse, a ghostly woman seen dragging a bloody bandage cart through the halls before vanishing into thin air. Others tell of a shadowy man who appears only in reflections, never in person, watching silently from mirrors or broken window panes. Even more disturbing are the stories of electronic devices malfunctioning, flashlights dying without reason, and photographs capturing figures that weren't visible to the naked eye. One group of investigators claimed to hear hospital machinery powering up in the dead of night, though no electricity flows through the building anymore. In the surgical wing, many visitors feel an overwhelming pressure in their chest, as if something, or someone, is watching, or worse, waiting. But perhaps most horrifying of all is the modern tragedy that stained the already bloody history of Belitz. In 2008, a man known as the Belitz Cannibal lured a woman into the abandoned hospital and committed a gruesome, unspeakable act of murder, right there in the ruins. It was a brutal reminder that Belitz is not just haunted by ghosts of the past, but by the evil that still lingers in the shadows. Today, Belitz Heilstätten stands as a crumbling monument to centuries of death and despair. Nature has begun reclaiming the buildings, with vines creeping through shattered windows and trees growing inside decaying rooms. But those who dare enter say the place still breathes, still whispers. So if you find yourself near Brandenburg, and you stumble upon the rusting gates of an old hospital hidden in the trees, listen closely. You might hear the cries of a forgotten patient, or see something move just out of the corner of your eye. Because Belitz Heilstätten is more than just abandoned. It's alive with the dead. 2. Heidelberg Castle, Baden-Württemberg. Perched on a forested hill overlooking the Neckar River, Heidelberg Castle is one of the most iconic ruins in all of Germany. With its towering red sandstone walls and sweeping views of the medieval town below, it seems like something from a fairy tale. But behind its breathtaking beauty lies a darker, more chilling reality, one shaped by centuries of war, betrayal, and restless spirits. The castle dates back to the 13th century, built as a stronghold for the prince-electors of the Palatinate, rulers of one of the most powerful states in the Holy Roman Empire. Over time, Heidelberg Castle became a symbol of wealth, influence, and culture. Lavish banquets, royal ceremonies, and political dealings filled its grand halls. But this golden age wouldn't last. The castle was severely damaged during the 30 Years' War and later struck by lightning, reducing much of it to ruin. Its grandeur was left to rot, and the once glorious halls turned cold, empty, and silent. It was then that the stories of hauntings began to emerge. After its decline, visitors and locals alike began to speak of strange happenings inside the castle ruins. At first, it was just whispers, voices in the wind, shadows flitting across broken windows, and the feeling of being watched. But soon, the encounters grew more disturbing. One of the most well-known legends is that of the Headless Horseman, said to ride through the castle courtyard at night. Locals believe he was once a noble who betrayed his people and was executed for treason. His spirit now wanders the castle in eternal penance, his severed head cradled in one arm as he searches for peace. Others have claimed to see the ghost of a knight in shining armor, silently guarding the castle's ancient tower. His identity is unknown, but he is believed to be a fallen soldier from one of the many battles that scarred the castle's history. The castle's apothecary tower, once a hub of alchemical experiments and early medicine, is also said to be haunted. Visitors report seeing glowing lights flicker inside the tower at night, long after it has been locked and sealed. Some believe the spirit of a 16th-century alchemist still lingers there, guarding his secret potions and forbidden knowledge. Even tourists in modern times have shared unsettling experiences, sudden drops in temperature, the feeling of being followed, and even ghostly apparitions caught in photographs. One visitor described hearing organ music playing softly in the ruined chapel, though no instrument was present. Another saw a woman in a flowing dress staring out over the balcony, only to vanish when approached. Some locals believe the very foundation of Heidelberg Castle is cursed, doomed to never fully rise again. Every attempt to fully restore the structure has been met with misfortune or failure. Perhaps the castle itself refuses to forget its bloody past. Today, Heidelberg Castle stands as both a romantic ruin and a haunted relic. It draws thousands of visitors every year, not just for its history and architecture, but for the ghostly legends that cling to its stones. And if you listen closely, as night falls and the mist rolls in from the river, you just might hear the echoes of the past calling out from the shadows. So the next time you walk the ancient paths of Heidelberg, remember, you may not be alone. 1. Burg Wolfsegg, Bavaria. Hidden among the forests of Bavaria, Germany, lies a chilling and mysterious structure, Burg Wolfsegg, a medieval castle built in the 13th century. At first glance, it appears like any other centuries-old fortress, with towering stone walls, narrow hallways, and Gothic architecture. But beyond its worn exterior, this castle holds a dark secret, one that has terrified locals for generations. Burg Wolfsegg was constructed by the noble Wolfsegg family, intended as both a residence and a defensive stronghold. It stood as a symbol of power and protection for the region, surviving battles and shifting borders for centuries. The most infamous resident of the castle was Clara von Helfenstein, the wife of a powerful knight, Ulrich von Lauber. According to historical accounts, Ulrich spent much of his time away at war, while Clara remained within the stone walls of the castle. But Clara's story took a tragic turn. Local legends say she fell in love with another man during her husband's long absences, a betrayal that would seal her fate. When Ulrich discovered the affair, rage consumed him. It is said that he either murdered Clara with his own hands or had her secretly executed within the castle grounds. And from that moment forward, Burg Wolfsegg was never the same. After her death, strange occurrences began to plague the castle. Servants reported seeing a pale figure in white gliding through the corridors at night. Her presence was always accompanied by a deep chill in the air, even during warm Bavarian summers. Locals began calling her the White Lady, a spirit doomed to wander the castle in sorrow and grief, searching for justice, or revenge. Over the centuries, there have been numerous encounters with the ghost of Clara. Visitors have heard whispers in empty rooms, doors slamming without wind, and even felt the touch of unseen hands. One traveler claimed he saw a woman standing at the top of a staircase, but when he approached, she vanished into thin air. Another group of ghost hunters who stayed overnight described hearing a woman sobbing throughout the night, though they were completely alone. Some even believe that a cursed energy now surrounds the castle, affecting those who stay too long. Feelings of dread, sudden headaches, and eerie hallucinations have all been reported. The castle was eventually abandoned for many years, and locals avoided it completely. Even today, few dare to enter after sunset, and many believe the spirit of Clara still roams the halls, bound to the place where her life was cruelly taken. Though the structure now stands partially in ruin, Burg Wolfsegg remains a powerful reminder of betrayal, sorrow, and the paranormal. A place where history and horror intertwine, and the past refuses to stay buried. So if you ever find yourself wandering through the Bavarian countryside, and you come across the crumbling towers of an ancient castle, think twice before stepping inside. Because some doors, once opened, can never be closed.